to Future Fit. Welcome to our 5th episode of Future Fit. Let's get Future Fit. Now, today was supposed to be the last episode, but if you watched the last episode, you would have heard me say, we're just going to carry on. We're just going to carry on because the whole idea of this program is to inspire us, to equip us, motivate us, to empower us to face the future confidently and with the resources that we need to make it the best that we can make it. So we're just going to carry on because we always have a future to face. So thank you for joining in again today. And as usual, I am super excited about today. I'm excited about today because as usual, I have my future fit thoughts to share with you. You know what? I think I'm going to free myself from that FFFT. I'm going to free myself, and it won't always be 5. Let's put it like that. I'm going to free myself from that bondage. Okay, so it could be 5 future fit thoughts that I have for us, or it could be 4, it could be 3. What I can assure you is I will have some future fit thoughts for you, but it might not be 5. So we're going to drop the first F, and it'll just be FFTs. That's easier to say anyway. So I'm going to be sharing my FFTs with you as usual. And I have a special guest, James Dand. Really, you're going to be inspired by his story. And I want to encourage you to stay to the end. Stay to the end. James has a special something for us. He has a special treat for us. So do stay to the end. But welcome. So let me just ask you a question. So I want to share this with you, but let me ask you, how many of you remember? Now, some of you might be too young to actually remember this. If you don't remember, it means you're too young. How many of you remember this program, Keeping Up Appearances? Keeping Up Appearances. If you remember, just say yes. Type in yes. Let me know how many of you remember. Keeping Up Appearances with Miss, what was her name? Hyacinth Bucket, wasn't it? That was her name. I mean, she was OTT, wasn't she? She was just over the top, and we laugh when we watch that program. We laugh because it's just absurd, the things Mrs. Bucket got up to trying to keep up with the Joneses. But you know, I think to a large extent, maybe not to that degree, but to a large extent, I think many people fall in that trap, in that dangerous terrain of comparison. Most people fall in that place at some point or the other of their lives. I dare say most people have found themselves at some point or the other comparing themselves with others. Now, for some people, though, it's a big problem because it's like it's constant. They're constantly comparing themselves with others. And that's what I want to address today, this comparison, because I really think it's a problem, and it will hinder you from becoming all that you can be. And Let's Get Future Fit is all about getting you to be all you can be. And comparison, I think, is a big problem. It's something that can deter us, prevent us from really living life to the full. Now, I'm not talking about being inspired. So of course, you can look at somebody's life and you can be inspired by their journey, their story, and it can motivate you to want to do something. You can say, well, if they could do it, I can do it. So you can look at somebody and draw inspiration from their story and be motivated by it. But I think that's different to judging your performance on the basis of their performance, or judging their performance on the basis of your performance. And that's what I really want to address today. 3 main areas in which we compare ourselves. One is in our looks and appearances. And please don't tell me it's only women that do that. Men do it as well. 2, in our gifts and our talents. You see, because if you don't know what you have, you will lack confidence, and you will tend to think, oh, I don't have enough. I am not enough. And again, that could cause you to compare yourself with others. You know, maybe you're a singer and you want to sing like Leona Lewis. Maybe you're into classical music and you want to do pop. So comparing our gifts with others, why can't I do it like that person? Or in our achievement. So when you think you haven't achieved enough, you look at your life. I finished school so many years ago. I am such and such an age. My mates who left school with me, they've done this, they've done that, I haven't. So we tend to compare ourselves in those areas. So there are 3 main areas I think we tend to compare ourselves. But like I said, if you thanks, James. If you can think of any other areas, maybe I've missed it. If you can think of any other areas in which we tend to compare ourselves, I would like to obviously increase my knowledge. So please put it in the comment box. So what causes us to do it? We all do it from time to time. But what causes us to do it? Two main things I think cause people to compare. One is insecurity, and that manifests itself in different ways. And I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail in a minute. But the other, I think, is pride. Okay. Now, before I carry on, let me just say to you, I'm not talking to you from that place of head knowledge or done some research and I'm coming to just share with you what I found. I'm talking to you from personal experience as well. Okay, so I've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. If you're in that place where you're comparing yourself, or you find yourself, maybe not constantly, but doing it more often than not, doing it more often than you ought to, I've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. So I know exactly how you feel. So I totally relate. Okay, so I'm sharing with you, yes, from research as well, but also from personal experience. And I say there are two main things that causes us to compare ourselves with others. One is insecurity, and the other is pride. Insecurity, when we want to get, you know, our sense of security from outside of ourselves. When you're not secure in yourself, in who you are, where you're looking for affirmation from outside of yourself, that can cause you to compare. That can cause you to compare. I think there are three main areas that you have to know yourself. When you don't really know yourself, then you will compare yourself with others. One, you need to know your identity. You need to know who you are. You see, we are constantly being told who we are, you know. Our parents tell us who we are, who we should be. Your spouse may be telling you who you are or who you should be. The media try to tell us who we are or who we should be. People are constantly telling us who we are or who we should be. And so if you don't know who you are, you will tend to want to get your identity from somebody else, from outside of yourself. Seriously, if you find yourself doing that, you will always be hurt. You will always be disappointed. I'm married. I'm very happily married. But no matter how happily married you are, you cannot find your identity in your spouse. And lots of people get into problems in their relationships because they're trying to find their sense of identity in their spouse. They're trying to get their spouse to meet all those needs that really has to come from themselves, from them knowing who they are and just being comfortable with who they are. You have to know your strengths. You have to be aware of who you are. Because if you don't, somebody said, if you don't know your name, you will answer to any name. But the other thing you need to know is your purpose. Okay, so I'm talking about insecurities. And I said, you need to know your identity so that you're secure, but you also need to know your purpose. Because if you know your purpose, then you're not going to be tempted to want to run somebody else's race, no matter how glamorous it may look. You have a lane that has been designed for you. You have a lane that you're supposed to run. You have a track that you're supposed to run. Can you just picture this, you know? So, you know, 5 guys are doing the 100-meter race. And then you see one guy leave his track, maybe because he sees the person on the outer track is running faster than everybody else. And then he decides, actually, I'm going to leave my track and I'm going to go run on the outer track. Then that way, maybe I'll win. They'll just be disqualified. But we tend to do that. We switch lanes because that lane looks more glamorous. That lane looks more prestigious. That lane looks better. No, we all have our lanes. I think it was Mark Twain that said there are 2 days that are the most important days in any person's life: the day you're born and the day you discover why. And that is so true. You need to know your purpose. I'm going to hopefully in future subsequent episodes, I'm going to try and talk a little bit more about these areas because I think they're really, really important. But the third area in which you need to know yourself is in your worth. You need to know what you're worth. You need to know your value. You need to know your value. Listen, if you put a certain price tag on yourself, the world is not going to raise it. They're not going to pay you more than you say you're worth. Okay? So you need to know your value. Other people might try to devalue you, but they don't determine your value. You determine your value. So you really need to know your worth. You need to know your worth. So I said there are 2 main things that causes us to compare ourselves with others: insecurity, and I've talked a little, well, at length about insecurity, the things that cause us to be insecure. But I said the other is pride. Because another reason why people compare themselves with others is not necessarily from that place of a lack of confidence, but it could be from that place of always wanting to come out on top. So if you have that sort of personality, for instance, where you're always the go-to person, you're always the leader of the pack, you know, you have if there's a group in school, you're always the leader, you're very popular, everybody wants to be your friend, you can fall in that place of thinking more highly of yourself than you ought. You can fall in that trap of always wanting to be the best, always wanting to be the best. And the truth is, you cannot be the best at everything. So guess what? When you find somebody being good at what they do, you will tend to want to compare yourself with them because you want to be good at that too. So that is another reason why people tend to compare themselves with others. And yes, there is a little bit of pride there. Don't tell me that you're being humble when you think you always have to be the best. Come on. So pride is a very subtle thing, but there is a bit of pride there. Now, I did say to you, I'm going to be sharing with you from my own personal experience as well. So I'm going to ask you a question now. I'm not going to tell you the answer now, but I'm going to ask you a question. Which of those two reasons I said causes us to compare ourselves with others? Which of those two do you think I struggled with? So I've talked about insecurities and everything that goes with that. I've talked about pride, the need to always be the best. Which of those two do you think I fell prey to? You can feel free to put your comments, you know, or if you feel like I'm just making it up, I was never in that place where I compared myself with others because I'm just too much, I'm too perfect. That's all right, you can put it in there too. I'm not going to tell you the answer now, I'm going to tell you the answer later. But it's not good. Comparing yourself with others is not healthy at all. It only destroys you. It destroys you. It causes you to fall short of yourself. If you find that you've been struggling with comparing yourself with others, next week, make sure you join me. I'm going to share with you some tips, some thoughts that I know will really help you. But first, let me just share with you some things that I think will motivate you to want to change. Because you see, it's a habit. When you form that habit, it's a habit. And you and I know how difficult it is to break a habit. But I want to share with you 5 negative consequences of comparison that I hope will motivate you to want to change, to want to break that habit. Number 1, it kills contentment and joy. It does. You cannot rejoice with people truly when they're rejoicing. You cannot truly celebrate people and their successes, you know? You can't really rejoice with them. You can't really celebrate with them. So it kills contentment and joy. And how about peace? You know, just that peace of just being content with your life. It really stills that. And if you struggle with comparison, you know what I'm talking about. You deserve peace of mind. You deserve peace of mind. You don't need to be in turmoil. You don't need to go somewhere where everybody's sharing about the things they've accomplished and it leaves you depressed. You don't need to be like that. So that's one thing that comparison does. The other thing is it leads to superiority or inferiority complex. And neither of them is a good thing. It makes you feel superior when you are in that place of, well, I've compared myself with them, I'm better. Or I've compared with them, I'm useless. Oh, neither is good. So inferiority or superiority complex is not good. It's not somewhere you want to go. And that's where it relates to pride, the inferiority complex, you know? The third thing it does is it leads to envy, jealousy, and resentment. How many relationships have broken down because of envy and strife and jealousy? You don't say it. Nobody likes to ever admit that they're envious of somebody else. We all know it's not a good thing to have that green color all over your face. We all know it's not a good thing. But yes, it happens. And then you start to say things like, oh, I just don't get her. I just don't feel her. You know, there's just something about him. There's just something about her. You know, I can't put my finger on it. And you start to come off like I'm intuitive and I have this discerning heart and I see something the rest of you don't see. No, you don't see anything apart from their accomplishments and you're jealous. That's it. And that's what comparison does. It causes you to be envious of others. It causes you to be jealous and it causes you to be resentful. And none of that is good because all of that steals your peace, you know. Number 4, comparison will cause you to always be second best at best. Why? Because listen, you cannot do me as well as I do me. You can never, ever do me as well as I do me. Okay, no matter how hard you try. So if you're trying to do me or I am trying to do somebody else, at the very best, I will be a mediocre version of them. at the very best. And at the worst, I'll just be a failure because I will not succeed in being them. So what you want to do is you want to identify yourself. That's why I started off by talking about three main areas that we need to know ourselves. You need to know who you are. And when I say who you are, I'm not talking about your profession or your career. When you say, some introduce yourself. Most people introduce themselves on the basis of what they do. That's just something you do. That's not really who you are. Who are you? Know thyself. So that's why I said you need to know your purpose as well, because you can never fulfill somebody else's purpose as well as you can fulfill your purpose. So you need to know your purpose so you can be confident. Everybody else could be doing what they're doing, but hey, well done to you guys. This is my lane. I'm sticking with it. You need to know your strengths. You need to know your gifting. You need to know your talents. But guess what? When you're comparing yourself with other people, instead of focusing on developing your strengths and developing your talents and developing your gifts, you're going to try and be developing gifts that don't belong to you. You're going to want to try and sing like a classical singer when your strength is in pop, just because you envy that classical singer. Do you see what I mean? So you will neglect your gifts and your talents when you compare yourself with others. And like I said, at best, you will be number two. At worst, you will just be a complete flop. And the fifth unhealthy consequence of comparison is it leads to unhealthy competition. I'm a very competitive person, but I had to get to that place where I had to just say, you know what, sometimes it's good, but sometimes it's not, sometimes it's like you're taking it too far now. It leads to unhealthy competition. Competition is good. I mean, I can't stand it when they say children just, run for the fun of it. Come on, there has to be a winner. If we're playing football, there has to be a winning team. So competition is good. Healthy competition is good. You finish the competition, you shake hands, you pat each other's backs, and that's fine. But unhealthy competition where you're wanting to win at the expense of somebody else, where you're wanting to tear somebody else down to make yourself look good, that is unhealthy. Or throwing people under the bus. We see that all the time in our corporate world. Throwing people under the bus just so you can get promotion, that is unhealthy competition. And comparing yourself with others will make you go in that dark place of unhealthy competition because you just want it at all costs. So those are my thoughts for you today. Like I said, next week I'm going to share with you some thoughts that I think will help you, I know will help you overcome comparison. It really will. So don't miss next week.